So this video was a nightmare to edit, but hey, at least I'm going to get my opinions out just in time. So hello everybody, it's the Winged Unicorn and I have flown back with another video, and of course I'm going to be talking about the most anticipated movie on this channel, Trolls Band Together. Now, with Trolls Band Together being out for a month now, I was able to see what people had to say about this movie who are not just in the fandom but also outside of the fandom, and honestly, the stuff that are being said about this movie is actually pretty surprising, at least in my opinion. Like, it wasn't just people in the fandom praising this movie, but it was also other people are not in the fandom who are actually praising this movie. Now, this could come from several factors, mainly because of the villains that are being presented in this movie, which I will get to eventually. Every single opinion that I have about this movie will be said in this review, but also the fact that this movie was just pretty much funnier, and especially because of the more mature jokes that are being presented in the movie, which I'm all for. Mostly they were all pretty funny, like a little surprising, sure, but they were overall funny. The fact that Disney's Wish has came out pretty much at the same month that this movie came out on, and people are automatically saying that this movie was better, and it's just further proof that DreamWorks can make better movies than Disney as of right now, which, by the way, I haven't seen Wish, so I can't really speak on Wish, but yeah, for Trolls 3, I thought it was pretty fun. Now, this is from a fan who started being a fan from 2016, and I'll have to say that within every single movie, these movies just get crazier and crazier, which is basically the whole nature of this entire franchise. And I'm honestly super thankful for that, because with Trolls 3, I feel like they really went out and went crazy with it. And while I do have my critiques with this movie, it was honestly just like, it was genuinely the funnest time I ever had within a movie for a while. Not only because it's from a franchise that I love, but also because I feel like I said, within every single movie of this franchise, I feel like it gets more crazier and crazier, and overall just more fun in general. So let's talk about this movie, shall we? As usual, the animation never fails to surprise me. And in this movie, I feel like it's been the most creative that it's ever been. And I feel like ever since the second movie, they start to have more creative liberties with the troll environments. Like in the first movie, I feel like it was pretty decent, and it's probably one of the reasons why I even fell in love with the franchise in the first place. But ever since the second movie, where they really have more variety in the environments, which you can see in many of the troll kingdoms, like the Rock Kingdom has like denim usage, and Techno has like neon colors and basically like all these neon lights. Lonesome Flats has quilts, etc., etc. You can see like that there's definitely a variety, and in the third movie, I feel like they got more creative with it as well. There are newer locations, and I have seen a few interviews of like what these newer locations are based off of. For example, Mount Rageous is kind of based off of like Las Vegas and like big cities like that. And after all, it's more like a teenager city kind of place, and it's like mostly crazy, and it kind of reminds me of the Funk Troll Kingdom, except a lot bigger and a lot crazier. And I feel like it really makes for a really cool environment, and it really fits the vibes with these characters that Veneer and Velvet are. I forgot exactly what they are. I'll put what they're called, what they're based off on screen, but overall it just fits their vibe. But my most favorite location in this movie has to be Vacay Island. Vacay Island is honestly my most favorite because I feel like it's the most creative when it comes to the materials that they use to animate the setting. What I mean by that is like the materials that make up the island. For example, in the island has like a forest place, and they have like pool floaties and pool noodles to like represent like the leaves and the trees in that forest. And I thought it was a really cool detail, and it was just really cool to see. And it's just because like it's called Vacay Island, so they would use like vacation sort of equipment to use for the island, and I think that's really cool. And for the water, to use Orbeez, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, it's the coolest detail in this movie. Like, Vacay Island is basically like the most pleasing to the eye, in my opinion, and it's just overall a really cool location. I also like the golf place that we see later in the movie. I really like the idea of these surviving trolls finding a abandoned place so then they can have like this utopia to live in, and it's overall just really cool. Like, in especially the character designs for the surviving trolls, they use like these like leftover materials that you would find in like I don't know, like most of them like have like these hats that you would get from those like vending machine thingies, like those plastic little containers that you would get from them. And I thought that was like one of the coolest details. Like I feel like the animators just really had a fun time with putting these little details and like making like these little materials to use for like character design and like location design. It's just really cool. And overall, just the animation for this movie, I feel like it's the best it has been for the overall franchise. Okay, so enough about the animation. Let's talk about the actual story, shall we? So this movie centers about Branch this time, or at least like mostly about Branch. Poppy still has a part in this movie, but it mostly likes to center on Branch for this. And in this movie, more or less explores Branch's backstory and a little more about it. And of course, we know a little more. We know a little more than we did. I mean, we knew that, like, you know, his past wasn't really the best. He kind of lost his grandmother after she was eaten by a Bergen, after she sacrificed herself to save him. We come to find out that his grandma wasn't the only person in his life that was a part of his family. He also had other family members who are his brothers, which consist of John Dory, Spruce, or now goes by Bruce later on in the movie, Clay, and Floyd. And they were all part of this boy band, and Branch was in it too, of course, except they all broke off mostly because of the fault of John Dory being the bossy one of the group, and everybody just decided to go their separate ways. And I feel like even though I did used to have like a little bit of a skepticism when it comes to Brozone in this movie, the fact that Branch even had brothers in the first place, I'll admit, was kind of more or less unexpected, but at the same time, I feel like it adds a little more depth to Branch's character, at least in my opinion. Now, this is coming from a person who was already in the fandom and has been a fan since 2016, you know, since the first movie. So this is just how I perceive this whole narrative now, from my eyes at least. I would remember in the early days of the fandom that lots of us would actually have these like little theories of ours where we would ask ourselves, you know, if Branch had a grandmother, there should have at least been somebody else to take care of him all of those years. And that's the thing about this movie that kind of explains it. He didn't really have anybody else to take care of him. He did have other family though, and that's another thing that we would theorize. Did he have other family members? Maybe they could have taken care of him. And yeah, he did have other family members. His brothers, his older brothers, they could have been there for him when he needed it most, especially because of the loss of his grandmother. But we come to find out it was way before the death of his grandmother where his brothers decided to go their separate ways. So this is where my stance comes in. My opinion, I feel like it really does add a little bit more to Branch's character, at least in the terms of how tragic his character is. We pretty much see throughout the entire franchise how Branch was pretty much closed off to the rest of the world, and this is especially emphasized in the first movie, where he was closed off to everybody and he just doesn't want to party with the rest of the trolls. And at the time, you know, we don't know why he was so closed off in the moment till we learn a little bit about his grandmother and how she died. And whether or not you guys think it's funny, that line of singing "Kill My Grandma," I know I've seen the jokes like a bajillion times. It's still a sad thing to think about when you really start to think about the implications of that. His guardian figure pretty much died while he was still a child, and not only that, but he also had other family, and they also left him when he was a child. In fact, way before his grandmother's death. And his brothers adds on another layer of sadness to Branch's story. There was even a scene in the movie, which I think was probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, where Branch basically lashes out at his brothers after his brothers had another argument, and John Dory, in a very not so sympathetic tone, says that they are all going to go their separate ways again. And Branch gets hurt by this, and he lashes out at them, saying that he stopped being a baby when everybody left him, and by the time his grandma died, there was nobody else to take care of him, so he had to take care of himself. And I feel like that just adds on another layer of tragedy to Branch's character. It just shows that Branch had no choice. He was closed off to the rest of the world because he couldn't bring himself to open up to others, because what's the point? They're all going to leave eventually, which is why we see him trying to survive on his own. And he's closed off to the rest of the world to protect himself from all of the heartbreak that he's been through in his life. We even see that with his little moment with Poppy, like shortly after the scene I just talked about, where Poppy volunteers to go with him to save Floyd, but Branch responds with, "Aren't you going to leave me like everybody else?" Like, damn, you really start to realize how effed up Branch's life is. He's pretty much been traumatized throughout his entire life. And it was this moment right here where it perfectly explained Branch's character, arguably even better than the first movie. Not only because, of course, this movie spends more time with Branch and we're able to see a little bit more about him, but also because it really gives a more of a complexity to Branch. And it's moments like this that really make his character impactful. Heck, I feel like that one scene in World Tour, the Broppy split up, really makes you rethink that scene once you really take a look at it again. And I feel like this movie just perfectly just shows how, like, it was moments like this where it makes you really rethink about Branch's character, how he is in the entire franchise. And that's what I really like about this movie. Because even though we already know a little bit about Branch, I feel like there was always something more to it than just some of his family's disappearing. But it wasn't just his grandmother, his entire family left him, and that's why he is the way he is, so isolated, tries his best not to get close to anyone, and it just really makes it more heartbreaking. And in all honesty, I like Branch even more now thanks to this movie. I mean, Branch was already a really good character to begin with, but still, this movie makes it better in terms of, like, just everything. So yeah, Branch is even better than he was before, which was already pretty good. So yeah, I respect this movie for it. Oh, and in terms of Branch's brothers, like as individuals, yeah, they were pretty good as well. Going into this movie, I was actually kind of worried that we wouldn't have too much screen time with the Brozone brothers, but we actually do have plenty of screen time with each of them. Except for Floyd, after he's saved, he's more or less just in the background. But still, him just being there is really nice, and I really like Floyd anyways. After all, he is the nicest one to Branch, even when they were growing up, and I feel like his connection with Branch was really sweet. I really like John Dory, or as I like to call him, John Square. Even though the fandom kind of roasts him a lot, and even the movie kind of roasts him a lot, which is probably the best part of the entire movie. Like, anytime he gets flabbergasted, it's the funniest thing in the entire world. But you know, John Dory, he's a fun character. I feel like he's pretty funny, even though he's kind of the worst of the brothers, like morally. But him as a character is pretty fun to watch. I also like Bruce. I like the fact that he's voiced by Daveed Diggs. You know, have more Hamilton people in the cast of Trolls. You know, that's always really fun. He's apparently married to a Sesame Street looking puppet lady. And it kind of makes me question how their relationship was able to work. But you know what? I don't want the answer to how they make it work. I like Clay. I know people kept roasting his design when his render was first out. But now that the movie's out, I like his design. It's a really cute design, actually. Overall, the Brozone brothers as the Brozone brothers are pretty cool. And I really like them as characters. And, you know, I can't wait to see them again. I mean, let's just hope that DreamWorks brings them back again, because I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? DreamWorks is kind of unpredictable now. Alright, so this is the biggest problem that I have with this movie, and that has to do with Viva. Now, Viva as Viva, I like her. She's really sweet. I really love her personality. I love her design. It's really adorable, and her interactions that she has with Poppy is really cute. And while I do love Viva as just being herself, like, honestly, like, I really do like her. She's basically like Poppy 2.0, and I already love Poppy, so Viva's just overall cute. But at the same time, the problem that I have with her is the fact that she's Poppy's sister in the first place. And what I mean by this is basically the problem that I have with Viva now is similar to the problem that I used to have with Brozone before. I keep saying, if you've watched my videos at least, how I was kind of skeptical of Brozone until, you know, like I said earlier in the video, how much it really does balance out Branch's character a bit, and a little bit adds a little more complexity to his character. So I don't really mind Brozone existing. But for Viva, it kind of ruins a lot of things. First of all, seeing her backstory, she apparently was one of the trolls that stayed behind so then she can fight off the Bergens and stuff like that. But here, there's a lot of continuity errors with this backstory. I don't know if it was really fighting off that she was doing. I mean, when the Bergens were like hunting them down, were they really fighting? They were just digging underground trying to find them. So I wouldn't say Viva was really fighting back. Maybe they meant that Viva was trying to help the trolls who couldn't really escape, so then she can help them escape. I feel like that could have been written a little better. And overall, it just kind of ruins Peppy's philosophy of no troll left behind, which, okay, this is the biggest thing that I have a problem with. Like in terms of continuity, it really does make Peppy look kind of an unlikable person. Now, ignoring the fact that Poppy even having a sister just flat out came out of nowhere, Peppy keeping the secret away from Poppy for all those years is kind of messed up. Like he really has a problem with keeping secrets. Like in World Tour, it was the same problem. He should have warned Poppy beforehand that there were other troll tribes out there that she should probably be cautious about. Like he has a bad habit of secrets. Like one time it happened, sure, I can forgive it. 2 times it happens, you have a really weird secret obsession, my friend. You need to tell your daughter everything she needs to know. Like, what else? Does she have a secret mother that we don't know about? I don't see any sign of her mother anywhere, so you might as well tell her now. Tell the audience now. So I don't know. And the movie even kind of treats it as a joke, where like when Viva and Poppy were like talking to each other in that one scene, Poppy was just like, how do I not know that I had a sister in the first place? And then they're all like, oh, our father is such a secret keeper. And I'm just like, bro, I'd be pretty mad if my dad didn't tell me that I had a secret sister. Like, this is some big news. Like, I know Peppy had like trauma because of this, and I understand that, and especially because like, you know, trauma can last for like I don't know, like years, depending on how the severity of it. I understand that. But at the same time, you know, he had 20 years. Like, I feel like he should have at least, like, taken the first few steps to recovery, right? And one of those steps is, like, acknowledging the problems around you. And wouldn't the first step be that you should probably be honest to your family members, specifically your daughter? I don't know. This whole thing kind of, like, falls flat on its face. So, yeah, just the whole thing about Poppy even having a sister was kind of sudden in the first place. So yeah, could have been written a little better. But anyways, Viva does exist. I'm happy that she does exist. I at least like her on screen anytime she is on screen. And of course, she herself has her own trauma to deal with, and it's really heartbreaking to see her sister leave without her, and she's just basically scared to go outside of the golf course place. So I don't know, it's just, I can't really bring myself to hate Viva anyways, despite the strangeness in the continuity and how much she breaks it. She's just overall too adorable to hate, and you know, I'm at least thankful that she's around. So since this movie is more centered on Branch, Poppy is sort of in the back seat for this. Not really though, she still has her moments, of course. But even so, she's still pretty good in this movie. In fact, this is probably the best that her character has ever been. Now, through the course of the other movies, we see Poppy grow as a character, and especially in World Tour. And it's nice to see how much she has matured. Of course, her bubbly personality and her very cheerful and optimistic personality is still there. But at the same time, she really looks like that she has matured. There were several moments throughout the movie where she tries to help Brozone so then they can focus more on the mission every time they look like they're about to break into an argument. And I feel like it really shows that she is trying her best to be not only a good queen, but a good friend to Brozone. And also, probably one of the biggest and most prominent examples of her maturing is with her relationship with Branch. Now, in this movie, they are dating, which is sweet and all, but the thing that's most sweet about this relationship of theirs is the fact that how much Poppy is trying her best so that she can be a good romantic partner to Branch, especially because in the opening scene of the movie where she clearly sees that Branch is upset about something, he is obviously in need of some help, and Poppy goes in and says to Branch that he can talk to her whenever he needs to. And I thought it was such a sweet moment. It really shows how healthy the relationship is, and it's just super wholesome to see. And another time with Viva, where like a similar situation was happening with Viva, when she looks like she doesn't really want to open up to Poppy just yet about what happened to the both of them and how Viva was separated from the rest of her family. Poppy says that she sees that Viva wants to take her time with this, and that's just an underrated moment that people don't really seem to realize. Poppy isn't just patient with Branch, she's patient with other people, because in World Tour she's trying to learn to listen to everybody, not just Branch, and it shows that she is really taking that lesson to heart, and she's helping others so that they can open up their problems whenever they need to, but at the same time not as pushy as she used to be. And I really like that. Overall, Poppy's just a really good character in this movie. I really love how she's really trying her best to help other people, and she is trying to help Branch whenever she can. And they were really sweet in this movie. Their relationship is extremely healthy, and yeah, they even get their kiss at the end of the movie, and I thought it was pretty sweet. So yeah, Poppy in this movie was actually pretty cute, pretty sweet relationship, and yeah, I'm all for it. Another thing that I like about Poppy's character, that's kind of a small detail that I don't think a lot of people notice either, is even though she is taking that lesson that she learned in World Tour to heart, she's still kind of imperfect. And a scene that kind of shows this is near the beginning, when she was telling Branch that if she had a sister she would be there to help her, and she rambles off a little bit about the fun things that she and her sister would do with each other, because she really wants a sister. And Branch just stops her, being like, Poppy, you need to focus, because like Poppy starts rambling about it, and Poppy just like snaps out of it and is just like, oh yeah, we need to talk about your problem, Branch. I like this moment because it shows that even though Poppy, of course learned to listen and learn to just calm down with things, she still slips up a little bit, but at the same time I really like how even if she does slip up, she picks herself right back up and she realizes what she's doing is wrong, and she snaps out of it and focuses again. And I really like this moment because it perfectly shows that she's, of course, she's growing as a character, but at the same time she's still imperfect. And that's just another thing that I'd like to bring up with Poppy in this movie. So Poppy's character overall, 10 out of 10. Still one of my favorite characters in the entire Troll franchise. Alright, let's wrap things up. So Velvet and Veneer are obviously really good villains, and at first I thought that they looked kind of scary. I don't know why. They just looked very out of place in my opinion. And even though I still kind of think that their character designs looks a little bit out of place in the Troll universe, they're still nonetheless very awesome villains. The characters themselves are really fun. Their songs are great, and obviously that suburbs and dentist line in the movie was obviously their best line in the movie. I don't know, it's just, yeah, they're funny, okay, of course. I get the hype. The soundtrack for this movie obviously slaps. I even have some of the songs in my playlist right now. So yeah, my favorite songs being Better Place, Perfect, Brozone's Back, and obviously Velvet and Veneer songs, because of course they're Velvet and Veneer, of course their songs slap. But overall the entire soundtrack is actually really great, and hearing them in the movie is really great, because I actually didn't listen to the soundtrack until like after I watched the movie, because I wanted to surprise myself, and I'm glad I did that, because it's the songs are great and the movie's great when you hear the songs in the movie. So yeah, it's really great. It's cool seeing the Bergens again, and Bridget and Gristle getting married. It's really cool to see them have a happy ending and all that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say about this movie. Overall, this movie was extremely fun to watch, and I was actually really impressed with how funny this movie was. Like, honestly, just another thing I wanted to say, like, this is probably one of the first Trolls movies that made me like laugh out loud. Like, the other movies were pretty funny, but like this movie, I feel like it's like they had like a lot more jokes and a lot more funny moments where like I actually laughed out loud. The other movies, yeah, I had like a chuckle or two here or there, but with this movie, like, I had a fun time with it. Like I said in the beginning of the video, this is probably one of the funnest times I've ever had in a movie in like a while. So yeah, it's this movie, it's like, I recommend it. It's a really fun movie. 10 out of 10 movie, you guys. And it's really nice. It's just a really nice movie. And it's also really nice to see another DreamWorks movie surpassing Disney, especially during their 100th anniversary, and their movie kind of flopped. Guys, like I said, I haven't seen Wish, so I don't even have my own opinion of Wish, but I don't know, maybe I'll see it one day and maybe I can like make a review of it. I don't know. Do you guys want that? We'll see from there. So anyways, that was my review of Trolls Band Together. It was a really fun movie. I loved it so much. As of right now, it's my favorite Trolls movie in the franchise. And yeah, that is all. What do you guys think about the movie? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you have other opinions that you have in mind? Do you agree with my opinions? Just tell me everything you want to tell me in the comments. Boy, was this video just a nightmare to edit, but hey, I got it done. Let's just hope I get this uploaded though. So anyways, that's the winged unicorn, and I'm going to fly away. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.